I well remember the moment it dawned on me that since I was homeschooling, it was up to me to teach my child how to read. I'll be honest, there was a moment or two of panic. I had never taught anyone to read before, nor did I remember how I was taught to read. How was I going to do this? But happily, it turned out to be easier and more enjoyable than I had anticipated, because it followed a natural progression. Let me walk you through how the Charlotte Mason method teaches reading, step by step. Welcome to the Simply Charlotte Mason podcast. I'm Sonia Schaefer. One of the ways that we interact with language is through reading. It's an important skill that will set our children up for a lifetime of learning. And for that reason, it's easy to feel pressured. But let me encourage you right from the start that your child's education does not depend wholly upon her learning to read. As we talked about in the episode on good books, with the Charlotte Mason approach, your child can learn and grow in all of the school subjects even before she's reading on her own, because you, the teacher, read her school books aloud to her until she is ready to read them for herself, whatever age that may be. So put your mind at ease. There's no pressure to teach your child to read now. In fact, it's vitally important not to push your child in this skill. Each person should be given the respect and encouragement to progress at her own pace when it comes to learning how to read. If we push, we are in danger of creating two negative soundtracks in that child's mind. The first is, I'm not good at this. Our children can tell when they're not meeting our expectations, no matter how much we try to hide it. And the second soundtrack is, I don't like this. It's never pleasant to be pushed repeatedly to do something that just doesn't make sense to you. No one likes to feel like a failure on a daily basis. So stay calm. Allow your child to progress at her own pace. No matter what your friend's child does, no matter what your own child's brothers or sisters might have done, be faithful to provide the opportunities to progress along the path to reading, but don't push. So let's talk about what those opportunities to progress look like. The first step in teaching your child to read is something we've already talked about: reading good books with your child. Reading good books together gently and naturally introduces the idea that letters put together make words, and words put together say something enjoyable. If you missed that episode on good books, check the description for a link. Now, along with reading together, you can introduce the letters and the sounds that they represent. This does not need to be some kind of formal reading lesson. Simply get your child some letters that she can handle. They might be foam letters or wooden blocks with letters or magnetic letters. It's up to you. Make those letters available along with her other toys, and then teach their names and sounds just as you would the other toys. For example, your child might grab a toy vehicle and put some things in it. You can simply comment, "Oh, I see you're taking Giraffe and T for a ride. That looks like fun." Just as you label your child's other toys, you can label the letters as she plays with them. And then you can play short, fun games with the letters, too. You might write 2 letters on index cards, 1 on each card, and tape those 2 cards to the wall. Name a letter and encourage your child to run over and touch it, or to throw a ball at it, or shine a flashlight on it. Or you might put 3 letters on cards on the floor and play some music, and when the music stops, your child can step on the letter that's near her, and you can say its name, or you can see if she knows its name, just for fun, no pressure. Once your child is familiar with the letters, you can expand the games to include the sounds those letters represent. For example, I'm thinking of a kind of food that starts with the letter S. S, S, so you say the sound. Then you give hints. You like to have this for lunch. And your favorite kind is peanut butter and jelly. Your child can guess, is it a sandwich? Yes, sandwich starts with S. S. That's all. Just that little touch sprinkled throughout your day or your week to gently and naturally introduce the idea of letters and their sounds. We have a kit filled with more than 100 multisensory games and activities that you can play to teach the letters and their sounds. I'll leave a link for you in the description. Once your child is familiar with the letters and their sounds, you can move on to the next step in the progression, word building. Now, how will you know if your child is ready to move to that step? Knock on the door. Sometime when your child is playing, take 2 of those foam or wooden letters and put them together. You might start with A and T. Put the 2 letters together and say something like, "This is the word at." We use it when we say, "We are at home," or "We are at the park." That's enough of an initial idea, just a little touch, planting that idea. Then later, put those 2 letters together again and say, "Do you remember what word this makes?" And see if he remembers. If your child doesn't remember, that's fine. Simply tell him and then keep playing with letters and their sounds for another week or 2 and try again. But if your child does remember, that says at. Now it's time to knock on the door. Grab the letter C. Do you remember what sound C makes? That's right, k, k. What happens if we put k with at? K, at, k, at. And see if your child is ready to put the sounds together to build a word. If he says k, at, cat, now you know the door's wide open and you can continue building words. Mat, rat, sat, bat. On the other hand, if it doesn't make sense, that's fine, don't push. Go back to playing with letters and sounds for another week or 2, and then try knocking on that door again. Once that door is open, you can build words with at and with n and with odd and with ip and so on. And then you can add silent E at the end and do long vowel words. And you can introduce blends such as th and sh. But just as before, keep these activities informal and short. I'll leave a link to our word building kit that will guide you through the process with enjoyable multisensory games and activities. And be sure to keep the games short, maybe 5 minutes at the most. When your child is comfortable with word building and can read a couple of 100 individual words, it's time to move on to putting those words together to form sentences. And I love how Charlotte Mason did this. It's a beautifully balanced approach, offering your child a variety of tools so that child can use the ones that work best for how she mentally thinks, as well as a chance to explore tools that she might not have tried before. You'll need 3 things for these reading lessons: a printed copy of a good poem or a paragraph from a good book, word cards, 1 for each word that's used in that poem or paragraph, and letter tiles that your child can move and manipulate. Oh, you'll also need some kind of whiteboard or chalkboard. Now, it helps to think of this as a 2-pronged approach. You'll be teaching the words using the tools of sight reading and of phonics. First, sight reading. Let's use the poem Rain by Robert Louis Stevenson for our example. Teach just the first line to begin with. The rain is falling all around. So pull out those 6 word cards and put them in a pile. You're going to teach them out of order. So maybe you'll start with all. All right, write the word all on the board and ask your student if she knows what that word is. If she doesn't, just tell her what it is, and then talk a little bit about the word, using it in context so it becomes an idea, not just a symbol. Do you have all the books in your favorite series yet? Now, encourage her to look at the word until she can close her eyes and see it in her imagination. Then, put your hand over the word and ask, "Can you find the word all in the word cards?" Good. Now, can you make the word all with your letter tiles? If she's not sure, or if she starts to misspell the word, uncover it on the board so she can see it spelled correctly and copy it. Then show her the printed page of the poem and ask, can you find the word all on the page? So what you're doing is encouraging her to recognize that word in a variety of places, a variety of fonts and sizes. Once you've done those steps, erase all and write it up in the corner of the board to start a list of words that you've already done. Now, choose another word from that first line of the poem and go through those same steps. Write it on the board, read it and talk about it. Look closely at it, cover it up, find it in the word pile, build it with the letter tiles, find it on the printed page, add it to your list of words up in the corner of the board. Now, each time you add a word to that list, review them all in a different order each time, not just top to bottom. Once your student knows all 6 of those words, now you get to have some fun. Use the 6 word cards to build some sentences. See if your child can arrange the word cards to read, rain is falling, or all around is rain. And eventually, have her put the word cards in order to read, the rain is falling all around. Now, give her the printed poem. Tell her to read the first line of the poem, and she can. That's the sight reading part of the lessons. For some students, you'll be able to get through all 6 of those words and sentences in just one short lesson. For other students, it might take several lessons, but keep those lessons short, only 5 or 10 minutes. Simply set the timer and stop when time is up, and then pick up from there the next time. Once you've taught all 6 words as sight reading, now you're going to come back to those words with that second prong of this approach and reinforce the phonics by doing word building with them. So choose one of those words, again, go out of order, and write it on the board. Ask your student if she remembers that word. Then cover it and have her make it with her letter tiles. If she hesitates or begins to spell it incorrectly, then just uncover the word so she can see the correct spelling. By the way, I think these gentle introductions to spelling are brilliant. We'll talk more about spelling in another episode, but it's just brilliant what Charlotte Mason was doing here. All right, once your student has spelled the word with her letter tiles, now help her do word building with it. She's used to word building because she's done it before. She might need your help to see which letters to remove and which ones to leave in place to build off of, but encourage her to see how many words she can build. For example, if you chose the word rain to start this process, she could remove the R and build gain, main, pain, strain, stain, brain, and so forth. Now, keep track of the words that she's building. And when you're done doing the word building with all 6 of those words from that first line of the poem, you will have a lot more words to use for fun creating and reading sentences. Continue that 2-pronged approach, sight reading and word building, with each line of the poem. And before long, your student will be quite comfortable reading sentences and then paragraphs. Check the description for a link to our reading kit for this stage of the process, too. This one is level 3, from words to books. You can see all of the variety that is included in this method of teaching reading, multisensory games and activities, seeing, hearing, talking, handling, and moving, reading by sight, reading by sounding out, using the imagination, and more. I like to also add in an enjoyable reader for some lessons. Once your student has worked through, for example, all 4 lines of that poem, Rain, with the 2-pronged approach, then you can start to alternate, each day doing a reading lesson, and then the next day practice reading aloud with a reader, and then the next day do a reading lesson, and the day after that practice reading with a reader, and so on. The combination of this wide variety of activities and tools coupled with interesting selections to read, all work together to give your student something to look forward to. She connects reading with something she enjoys. As you progress at her pace, without pressure, you reinforce the idea that reading is a delight. And that's an important part of creating a lifelong learner. Yes, you can teach your child how to read, but if she doesn't view reading with anticipation, eager to discover what those words on the page can tell her, she'll probably use that skill as little as possible. Helping our children to develop and to keep a positive attitude toward good books and reading is a vital part of their education. For once the habit of reading his lesson books with delight is set up in a child, his education is not completed, but ensured. Home Education, page 229. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.